We're going to do one next Fireside chat before we take a quick break. So without further ado, I'd like to bring on Evgeny to tell you all things Zerion. Please give him a big round of applause.
Thank you, Kartik. Pleasure to be here.
Thanks for being here. We've known each other for a while, and it's always awesome to kind of talk to you. Usually we don't do this on stage, so it's going to be one of those conversations where we're going to try to do the same thing that we usually talk about, but with other people watching. The part that is interesting to me is anytime I ask somebody if you know about Zerion, I get a different answer for the product that they use from Zerion. So my first question to you is, when somebody asks you what Zerion does, what do you usually answer?
That's a great one, and that's true, because like Zerion was changing so many times. We've evolved. So we started in like the earliest days of Ethereum, like since 2016, and evolved and went through so many iterations. So I guess the answer really depends on who I'm talking to. So to the users, Zerion is the most intuitive self-custodial wallet. I think the philosophy when we were approaching building Zerion was it should scale. The more power user you become, the experience should scale. And I think Zerion is following that trajectory. So it's as easy to start as any other wallet, and probably even better. But then if you are a degen trying to like flip meme coins or do all crazy DeFi things across every chain, Zerion also works for you. And then for developers, Zerion is primarily the Zerion API these days. And that's a natural, I guess, evolution. So Zerion API happened to be one of the most successful products that we've built recently. This API allows you to replicate and build your own wallet without building full wallet infrastructure, as we've done. So we're just saving time for developers to go to market faster.
That's awesome. So I want to talk a lot more about the API, and then there's also a few things I'm curious about on how you think about the future of wallets altogether. But was the goal of the API to just build the API so you can use it for the Zerion wallet, or was it to satisfy an actually external demand for that data to be used by third parties?
Yes. So Zerion API was initially not even like productized. So we had our internal API. We've worked for years to make we always focused with the Zerion wallet when we launched on the user experience. So we wanted to have an API that works across like all of the clients, so we don't need to replicate a lot of the work and don't go to the lowest primitives like RPCs. It happened that over time, more and more people started reaching out to us and saying, look, like we want this infrastructure. And this is how Zerion API happened in the first place. We've existed with just one client for maybe 2 years. It was not like we're not charging for this. So Rainbow Wallet was actually our first client who reached out. And
this means, what was Rainbow Wallet using the API for? And what are the functionalities here?
Yes, so pretty much everything data related. So when you create a wallet, obviously the key is inside your app. But then all the information about tokens on your wallet, your transactions that happen across all chains, this was fetched from our API. And then later, more and more customers started just reaching out, and we realized that we need to make this a real product. And there's like a lot of demand on the market. And honestly, with like 2025 starting, it just continued exploding, I would say.
That's awesome. What do you think people get wrong when either designing this or using this kind of data APIs? Because you would think, oh, I can just save all the RPC data in a database and just give it to you as an API. Is that basically it? Like, what goes into this, and why hadn't nobody else done it before?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think first we didn't have so many chains, and I think the complexity of the ecosystem was a little bit less than right now, and that's why people were thinking, okay, I just need this thing and that thing. I'll stitch them together, and it's going to start working. But as we now, in 2025, we have hundreds of chains, we have thousands of DeFi protocols. If you're trying to build a product that really works, you need to invest a lot in infrastructure. So in terms of RPCs, even managing RPCs for all the different blockchains is a mess. Then aggregating this data, it's just a very pragmatic thing to do. And I think companies started to realize that it's just not their business.
Easier to outsource than
exactly.
to do it.
So that's a straightforward thought, and I think it took some time for people to get to that point. But not even right now, like not every company is. Like a lot of companies have replicated a very similar infrastructure, and I think what we're seeing right now, there's a big emergence of B2B businesses and APIs because people don't think that, like, why do we need to maintain 15 different businesses inside? And I think it's a great sign of maturity of the industry.
Absolutely, and in a way just proves that this is something that people are willing to actually pay for, in addition to just it being necessary. One of the comments that we heard from one of the earlier speakers this morning was Bogdan from Tenderly saying, running RPCs is the easiest thing ever. Try building EVM debugging tools. So I guess my question to you is that true? And what are the complications you run into maintaining, I guess, 50 plus chains that you do for the API?
The funny part is that we don't run RPCs because this is not our business. Like,
in terms of like managing, yes.
Yeah, so for us, like we never wanted to, because we knew that like it's a different piece of stack that you know there are other companies, you know, QuickNote, Alchemy, they do it really well. So it doesn't make sense for us to do everything in-house. So for us, the biggest part is really the infra that we've built on top, and that's hard. We're spending like over 100K a month just on AWS, for example, sometimes even more. And this is on like a fairly, you know, crypto is, I would say, still very niche, and the number of users on a daily basis is fairly low, especially now. And with that kind of usage, we're already at like a huge infrastructure spend. So yeah, it's expensive to maintain.
So I guess, is that in a way saying that it's going to be a world where people are going to use RPCs less and just rely on APIs who are ingesting the information, giving it out there? Or do you kind of feel like there's a more interesting kind of outcomes here? Like, how do you think about the future of RPCs?
I think RPCs are going to be specialized. So RPC becomes expensive if you're just trying to call, like, query everything from a single provider. And I think what is happening right now is that even RPCs themselves are specializing. So you would have RPCs that are better for sending transactions, and some RPCs are better for like fetching historical data. Some RPCs are just faster to respond, et cetera, et cetera. And I think use case specific APIs are starting to emerge. So you'd see, like, I mean, Zerion is one example, obviously, for user data. I mean, the graph, in a way, the graph API was one of the first, I guess, specialized approaches to the RPC, and there are many more examples. And I think as we grow, these more specialized ones are just better optimized for the use case. And RPCs are going to be, you know, very low-level thing that no one will really need to know about when you're building a, I guess, modern composable application, consumer application.
What's the value of those specialized endpoints being RPCs still, if they can just?
Not necessarily.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I think the biggest value of RPC is the composability, so they're like standardized, yes. But they don't have to be RPCs in a way. Yeah. No,
okay. I was making sure I didn't misunderstand something. You've obviously been building a wallet that's very successful for many number of years. What do you think about kind of the surge of a lot of wallet applications or wallets being embedded into almost everything that we're seeing? Is that a good thing? Do you feel like we're going to learn the limits of how much different things we have to maintain as a user, complexities, all these things? Like, what does kind of the wallet world look like to you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there's a bit of a fork that happened a few years ago, I would say, when there are two types of wallets that I think are going to exist. So I think application-specific wallets are definitely going to be there. And this is the biggest trend, I guess, obviously. So embedded wallets, but it doesn't necessarily need to be like social widget-like wallet. It can be embedded on a much deeper level, can be even custodied inside the application that is building it. And we see that happening in fintech as well. So like fintech apps just integrating straight into their applications, the crypto like keys and non-custodial stuff too. And then separately, there is a trend of like new neobanks emerging from the wallet, from the non-custodial wallets. And I think it's really about the brand and positioning in a way. So there are only a few wallets in the ecosystem that are large enough to really become the new neobanks of like the future world. Obviously the biggest ones. And we see a big race from centralized exchanges like OKX, Binance. They're all launching new wallets, investing their existing wallets, because for them this is just distribution and preventing people from leaving to new wallets. So yeah, I think it's going to be a duality of that, and there's probably nothing in between, and it's very hard to build for both.
So you think it's still hard to see kind of the future we end up in, where are we just kind of expecting wallets to exist in multiple places for a given user, or we can expect like one or two super apps that just, hey, this is my wallet and this is the wallet app I go to, just like the way you have only one bank and maybe sometimes two, but 90% of people will not have multiple bank accounts. Is that more likely, or it's going to become so easy that you may have 100 different wallet accounts somewhere?
I think it's going to be closer to you having your own application which you trust, where you store the money, kind of long-term. You use that for payments, like similar kind of use case to a neobank, but built on crypto rails. And separately, if you are using, I think the easiest example would be something like Hyperliquid, or like anywhere you're doing whatever
application-specific wallets.
Farcaster, for instance. Yeah, there you would have a separate wallet, kind of like with, say, YouTube creator rewards. You accumulate it there, you withdraw as needed, but you're not going to put your life savings into YouTube wallet. So I think that's the difference between different types of wallets, and I think that's going to be pretty much mimicked from what we see right now, and there's nothing wrong with that.
How has that changed any of your thinking around evolving Zerion Wallet then?
Another great question. Our thinking about Zerion is always evolving, as
yeah, fair enough.
But I should say that we've started putting much more effort into simplifying the experience. So we looked at, I guess if we want to compete with neobanks getting into crypto, we have to be at least the same in terms of user experience. And that has not been the case. And I think we're currently losing this war to the broader ecosystem of banks and like existing Web2 players, because they are using what we've built as a community, just putting their stuff on top, their distribution, just onboarding a bunch of users, and kind of leaving behind a lot of great companies that are in the Ethereum ecosystem and beyond. So I think we need to fight back. So I think as an industry, we need to step up and just finally start using the stuff that we built and put so much like sweat and tears into, and use it. We don't need more. That's enough.
I think that's something all of us can get behind. What are the? Let me see if I can rephrase this, because I was gonna put this more negatively than I think I really mean to, but I assume just like everybody else, in the last 12 months, you've had to support so many different networks. How does that complicate things, or what benefits have you noticed, or do you have any advice for people starting new chains when they eventually have to integrate with a wallet that don't do this because it's gonna anywhere from take extra long to will make our lives like crazy? How does it look like from an infrastructure company when you have hundreds of things going on?
It's a good one again. So as some of you know, we've launched our own layer 2 earlier in late last year, and we've took a lot of lessons from it. So it was a very exciting and fun experiment for us. That is still ongoing. Yeah, if you want to watch a fun launch video, you should definitely check out our YouTube. We've had so much fun filming it in Riga. It was a great launch video. But Zero Network, just to recap what it does, we basically tax the toxic order flow. So basically all the chains that are existing right now, like layer 2s, they don't differentiate between different types of users. So the fee is pretty much the same, the gas fee is the same across all the users. Versus in Zero Network, because we know some past history about the wallet, we can actually subsidize these kind of transactions coming from more real users and have a higher fee on the bots and transactions that are basically not originated from, I guess, non-toxic flow. And from that perspective, like, it's been pretty sustainable, Zero Network. But I think what we definitely underestimate is how much work it takes to build an ecosystem, and especially if you're trying to be in the generalized layer 2 world. And I think all the chains that we're currently seeing, they're still trying to be a very generalized EVM approach. And I think first advice is definitely specialized. I would say that lower down, like the smaller number of use cases that you support, ideally one, the better. So if your chain is trying to onboard pretty much every piece of infrastructure, you're going to suffer from paying every vendor, and then you'll also need to incentivize someone else to come in and build, and this is also not sustainable. So I think go-to-market is key, and obviously distribution is the hardest bit. So if you have some, I guess, advantage in that, that's definitely worth utilizing. Yeah, but maybe right now don't launch an L2. Wait a bit. Yeah.
Says the team that also just recently, I guess you had to kind of go through that cycle and then realize.
Yeah, I mean, we sometimes like underestimate or overestimate things, but it's not the end. Like, we have the plans for the Zero Network. We also, like, I'm just following my own advice, to be honest, with the Zero Network strategy. We're gonna dumb it down.
That's amazing. Maybe I guess as a closing thought, what do you think is missing from the world of crypto infrastructure? Anywhere from things that are either expensive that you like to be maybe bring down the cost for, to things that you want to use but you don't want to do that work yourself and you would rather pay somebody for it. What are kind of some of the interesting feedback or observations you've had?
It's a great one. I think right now, just overall, the infrastructure is very nascent, still across the board. If we're talking about but it's getting built, but it's pretty amazing to watch. But it's only been recently that it started to emerge. So, for example, if you're just trying to bootstrap your own consumer app, the complexity of that is enormous. So I think like it comes from where do you store the keys, how do you do security, how do you do compliance, how do you do data? Like, all of these questions are currently answered by a million different providers with various and very complex sales cycles, and it just it becomes for someone just trying to hack things together, it's pretty complex. So I think that's something we would want to see solved and their progress in that regard. But I guess in terms of what I'm excited about is the AI part of things. It's not directly related to our current cost, but we've been plugging in Zerion API into many of the AI tooling out there, and we're seeing some early success in that. And
how are you trying to use it?
So there are MCPs, obviously. So there are like people who are helping us out to build plugins for different kinds of frameworks, such that Zerion API can be used as part of the agent flow.
Others are using...
Yes.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, so Zerion API is wrapped into a plugin, so you can just come in and, like, if you're trying to fetch a balance of some kind of wallet, it talks directly to the Zerion API MCP, fetches that. But I think the cool part would be once we have even the transacting endpoints, so we're leaning more into that as well. So you would be able to use Zerion API to transact, and because it's so standardized, it's the same like flow for agents, and once that gets out there, I'm very excited about the...
Well, that's actually very cool, yeah, because then you have a very standard way of just passing in commands, and
exactly. So
it's bidirectional,
fetch what they're about, like they can interact and transact. I'm honestly very bullish on the AI agent on top of basically the thesis that Joel wrote in 2023. I recently checked. He wrote that in Joel Monegro from Placeholder. So yeah, he wrote this thesis about AI agents using permissionless networks in like October 2023. So it was, I think, way ahead of many getting to the same conclusion, but I'm still very bullish on that one.
Amazing. Yeah. I think that's a lot of things to look forward to. So I want to thank you for taking the time, and can't wait to play with some more AI agents and Zerion data.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you.